Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome. CPI. Let's get ready to rumble. How's Rumble doing? It's all right. I'm doing all right. What's going on, guys? Welcome back. What's up, Kasim? All right. Yeah, new haircut. Finally. I had a mop on my head. Happy dad. Even though I'm not a dad. Couldn't sleep. Come on, A-Tech. Can't be putting that kind of stress on yourself. The days of stressing over overnight swings are over for me, guys. I've had those days. I do not put myself in that risk anymore. Yeah, a little bit of a hurricane going on here, but nothing crazy this time around. Just a little bit of rain. I'm supposed to fly out of Florida tomorrow, so I hope that my flight does not get canceled. That is something I definitely don't want to happen. I really want to go. I'm going to the Giants game in New York. And I do want to go to that. I don't want to get this flight canceled, so we'll see. I'm looking at the radar right now. It looks like it should pass, so we'll see what happens. I've been trading for almost 10 years now. January will be 10 years. Enoch Power. Oh, well. Damn, Mike, that sucks. Been enjoying watching tulips crash. Yeah, crypto's a disaster, guys. All right. So, welcome back. There's a little poll going on in the chat if you guys want to vote. We got a little poll: CPI higher or lower than expectations. We'll end that poll around 8, right before the CPI comes out. Randall, would you trade Chubb for Devontae Adams in fantasy? Which league? I gotta know which running which depends on what you have for wide receiver. you know. All right, guys, let's get started. So I sort of in the Discord and in the chart Discord as well. I didn't do any analysis yet in there in the chat, so just to let you know that if you are there, I'm just gonna wait until after 8:30, right? Because CPI is big, right? It's market moving, and we're not gonna be able to do much analysis here before 8:30. Things are going to change. So we'll look at a few things here. We'll get a good look at the futures. We'll get some look on a few individual stocks. But just know that at 8:30, guys, everything that we talk about, if we get too deep into it, could be very well invalidated. So I don't want to get too deep into the analysis here just yet on the technicals, just because a lot of it can get pretty quickly invalidated at 8:30, right? So yeah, the Tesla analysis yesterday, M was that was sick, right? We'll go over that. Tesla bear flag was sexy. I mean, that was just perfect. Netflix bear flag was perfect. So again, guys, you come to the live streams. We'll do our best to go over. We'll do our best to go over the good setups out there in the market. And yesterday was definitely a good example of some really nice setups on the pre-market live stream. So congratulations if you caught any of that. All right. Futures, as always, economic earnings calendar. I'll go ahead and pop that up. Here we go. Economic calendar. So today is the big day. All right. We got Thursday, consumer price index. It's core CPI, right? It's CPI, consumer price index. I don't know why they have it twice there. That's the monthly change. Okay, that's the core. Okay, yeah, you got CPI and then you got core CPI. Core CPI is X food and energy, right? So we'll see, the difference between the core and the normal, right? If food and energy is the big area of inflation or of consumer price index increase, then it's a good thing to note. That's why they split it into core and then consumer price index. CPI, that's the month over month change, and then this is your 12-month change. This is your year over year. I'm not sure why they're calling it 12-month change. It's basically year over year. Initial jobless claims, I don't think this means anything. I mean, maybe a little bit, but this is what it's all about here. The core CPI and CPI numbers, that is what's important. Jobless claims, we'll see if there's any movement off that. I mean, I'm assuming it's going to be all jobless claims. And then that's really it for the day. We got a lot of Fed presidents speaking, which I'm sure they'll be noting on the CPI numbers. I'm sure of that. Federal budget, I'm not sure how much that will affect us. I think CPI is the big one. And then tomorrow we got consumer sentiment and 5-year inflation expectations. So I think today is really the deciding factor for the rest of the week. Core CPI and CPI, that will be most important in my opinion. All right. So that's today. That's at 8:30. We'll have that live. We will get a live look at that right there. So let me go ahead and pull up the expectations here for us. This is investing.com. This is probably where I like to look at it the best for CPI, minus all the ads they put on here. But you guys can see the forecast is 8%, right? That's our median forecast as of now. The previous was 8.2. So coming into this CPI, the expectations are for it to be lower, right? That is what the market is expecting. The market is expecting for CPI to come in 0.2 lower, right? It's expecting to come in at 8%, and we will have to see today what it is, right? The last few CPIs, we've seen those very harsh downside moves, and the reason for that is because it came in higher than the forecast, right? This was 8.1. We came in at 8.3. Forecast was 8.1. We came in at 8.2. So it was higher than the forecast the last two readings, and that is why you saw downside on the market. Okay? Now, today, same thing. If CPI comes in higher, I would expect downside on the market. If CPI comes in lower than 8%, then this might be what the market is waiting for to get an upside move, right? If there's going to be an upside move, if there's going to be a little bit of a weight off the market, if there's any type of event that causes a pretty major move to the upside, it's going to have to be, first, a lower than expected CPI, and second, the Federal Reserve to lower their interest rate hikes. I don't see that, right? At least what Jerome Powell has told us. If you're just listening to Jerome Powell, then it seems like that's not coming anywhere. We're not near that point yet. Now, who the hell knows? But that's what Jerome Powell says, right? They say, we're not close to that point, right? We don't feel like we are ready to start taking the gas off the pedal. So Jerome Powell has told us not to expect that. But when that happens, that would be where I think markets get a little bit more. I think that's what the market is waiting for. Until that time hits, it's just going to be heavy, and it's just going to be the market's going to be real heavy and probably continues to slip lower. We need to have a lower than expected CPI, and we need to have a slightly, what's the right word here? We need to have the Federal Reserve get a little bit more calm, right? A little bit less aggressive. That's sort of what the market's waiting for, and we haven't seen that, and that's why the market continues to go lower. So CPI should be interesting, right? That's our expectations. We'll see what happens. We'll bring this up in about 20 minutes when everything starts coming out. All right. So we'll go over a few things here. We'll go over some things that we were looking at yesterday and see how they played out. I think that's what I want to do right now. Sort of look at our analysis from yesterday, sort of get an idea of how it all worked out, go over a few names that I'm watching today. But we're going to have to pretty much go over everything again here at 8:30, right? So we'll go over a few stuff. Let's start with the futures. Actually, you know what? Let's pull up the earnings calendar. Let's go ahead and pop up that earnings calendar here. All right. Coin. Yeah, coin's dead. Coin's at a big level at 45. All right, so yesterday we had, I think, we'll take a look at last CPI. I remember that. Last CPI we dropped, and then the market rallied the next day, I think. It was very interesting. So yesterday we had nothing crazy. We had Rivian, Dutch Bros, Wynn Resorts, Beyond Meat, Unity, Celsius. Shout out Celsius. I need a sponsorship from Celsius. This morning we have NEO, Yeti, AstraZeneca, Six Flags, Ralph Lauren, WeWork, Wix. Nothing crazy there. Nothing crazy here, and nothing crazy here. So on the earnings side, it really, so far this week, has been a lot about Disney, right? Disney was a big one and has gone lower, especially yesterday. And yesterday we had maybe, these are not that big, but you can say Wynn Resorts is big for travel. Beyond Meat's interesting. Unity, Celsius. This morning, NEO, AstraZeneca. So still nothing, once again, on the earnings side. Nothing big. Yeah, Celsius. A lot of people are drinking Celsius these days, man. I'm assuming that Celsius has got to be having some of their best revenue, right? I think Celsius is probably at a peak of in revenue as they ever had. Now, the stock really did not move much off of their earnings, but I would assume I see Celsius everywhere. What did NEO do? NEO is slightly higher. Not much. What did Roblox do on earnings? So you guys remember we had a pretty convicted person in the chat, and I'm not saying this I'm not saying this to be a dick, but I just want to say this to make another point that you do not know what's going to happen on earnings. So we had, people in here saying Roblox is going to go up on earnings as if they knew what was going to happen, right? And this is what Roblox did on earnings. So please, eventually I think people will catch on. It depends on how many years of losing they'll have to have until they stop playing earnings. But do not play earnings. Simple as that. All right. So let's get started here. Let's get a good look at this market. Let's get a good look at the NASDAQ, the ES. Let's see what's sort of going on here and get a quick analysis before the CPI. Because really, everything we do here, guys, once again, I'm sorry if it's a little bit slow until CPI, but, everything's going to change here, which we can't really go over at this point. We have to sort of wait until that CPI comes out, and then we can sort of relook at things. But yesterday, here's what sort of happened. So we were pushing higher on the NASDAQ over the last few weeks, right? We got that little push here. I guess you could call this a little bit of a flag, little bear flag, whatever you want to call this. We were sort of channeling higher into this 11.7, right? And then right here on Wednesday of last week, we got that slip. Or Wednesday of, last week, we got that big slip to the downside, right? We broke that uptrend, got the slip. This is FOMC. We got that FOMC downside, and then we moved back into this previous low around 10.7. Over the last few days, we've gotten a little bit of a push, but nothing that really, it's just a little bit of an inside push. Never got over this 11.3 area, never got back over that Wednesday level on the NASDAQ. We sort of pushed higher. Yesterday we rejected, and we sort of went back within this channel. So if we go to the 30-minute chart, here we can look at sort of what happened yesterday. I said yesterday that we could very well see us sort of trade between this channel here, around 11,000 to 11.3, 11.2, right inside this channel. I figured we'd trade inside of that. Late day yesterday, we did get the slip, right? We got the slip under that channel, and you can see how aggressive it got after breaking that 10.980, 11,000 level. So right here, you guys can see we had the previous rejection, and support, and as soon as we slipped under this, right, look at how aggressive it got. So I'll go ahead and go to the 1-minute chart, and we can see exactly how aggressive it got after slipping that level. So right here, you can see that sort of flip from support into rejection, right? Support into rejection. Right here was the key double top rejection point. That was previous support. You guys can see it sort of built this little U pattern, support off this level. We broke it. We turned it into a double top rejection. And ever since that, right, it was just a slip to the downside. Thanks for Tesla yesterday. Great trade. Got stopped out when I moved down to protect profits. Won't even work, but that was sick. Thanks. Connor, well done, man. Congratulations. Thank you for the $4.99. So yeah, NASDAQ is now pretty much still within a channel, right? We're in a channel between 10.980 and 10.7, just sort of sitting here. And today we get the move on CPI, right? So this is definitely going to be a big move in either direction here today. My expectation, if we get downside, let's go ahead and go to the 4-hour chart. I think if the market does get weak off CPI, I think you at least test this 10.7, at least, at the very minimum. That's about 1.7%. And if it's, if the market really does not like what it sees, I would say you test the lows 10.5. That's about 3.5%, right? So about 3.5% red day. That would be, that's sort of within the expectations of a pretty bad macroeconomic day. I usually see around 3, 4, 5%. This is about 3.5%. That's the 10.5 lows. I would assume you test that level if the market does not like what it sees. If the market likes what it sees, I think you're getting to at least this 11.3, right? That's this pre-FOMC level. It's about 3.5% to the upside. So to me, I think 3.5% is typically what I see on a CPI day. That's right around the median of what you typically will see. So I would watch 10.5, 11.3. But, guys, we're going to have to wait and see, right? I'm not really confident doing this analysis for you right now because in about 15 minutes, things are just going to get much more clear, and we just wait to see what happens. So let's do that. Let's wait until CPI comes out, and then we'll sort of look at what this market is doing. But I'm assuming 3.5% plus or minus 3.5%. That's around 11.3 to around 10.5. That's sort of the range that I'm looking at here on the NASDAQ today. And then we'll have to see how the continuation looks after CPI. Let's go ahead and pull up the previous CPI. Let's go ahead and do that and sort of get a look at what we did on the previous CPI. Last CPI was on, let's go to the exact date. It was October 13th and then September 13th. So let's go back to that. October 13th is right here. So here's October 13th. That's this big move right here. That is right here, right? These 2 days. So October 13th, this is pre-market, and then let me go to the hourly chart actually, so you can see maybe a little bit closer here. You can see exactly what sort of happened on October 13th. Let's go. We gotta get over here. Here we go. All right, here it is. So here's the hourly chart on October 13th on CPI day. This is the last CPI day. Pre-market, I'm sure you guys remember this day. We got a huge downside move pre-market off CPI. From the highs to the lows, it was about 4.5%. So pretty monster downside move on CPI pre-market. Intraday, we made up the entire move, right? So that's what happened previous CPI. Let's be cautious of that. We moved right down into that 10.5, right? And that 10.5 is that same level I just talked about that we could see that downside into, right? So that downside move that I said we could potentially see a move into was the previous CPI lows, right? So we definitely need to be watching the previous CPI lows here, around 10,500 on the NASDAQ. That is where we dropped in the pre-market on the last CPI reading and where we bounced off of and closed green on the day, which is insane. So let's watch that 10.5 level if we get downside, right? Before that, it was September 13th, and I think this was the one that just sort of went down and got crushed. This was the previous, this was this one right here. So September 13th, this was the previous downside and just sort of, continuation. And that was the reading that was actually 0.2 higher than the forecast, right? So this one was 0.2 higher than forecast. The previous one was probably closer to the expectations, which is maybe the reason you could justify the bounce. But, we can never justify everything in this market. But previous, the one before October was September's, and that was this one. And we dropped from the highs to the lows 7% that day. So that's pretty ugly on that day. So that's that, guys. We got about 10 minutes until CPI readings. We'll go ahead and look at that when it comes out. Let's go ahead and look at the ES real quick, get an idea of what it did here yesterday. So yesterday, we had a push, or really on Tuesday. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here a little bit more. Tuesday, we had a push into that 3860 level, right? 3860 was the FOMC low. That was back here on Wednesday. So we pushed into that FOMC level, and we rejected it. Now, yesterday, you can see we sort of just slipped all day, broke the 3,800 level, and then after breaking the 3,800 level, you guys can see what happened here, right? After breaking 3,800, it was pretty much a slip and slide to the downside, right? Very aggressive to the downside after the 3,800 break. All right, so now we find ourselves, right? We find ourselves with a support around 3710. I'm going to go ahead and delete that 3,800 because I think it might be a little bit irrelevant right now. I'm going to sort of focus on, I'm going to focus on this 3860 and 3940, and then these lows here around 3700 and this low around 3650. The previous CPI low is down here at 3500, guys, right? That's 7% to the downside on the ES. So you guys can see down here was the previous CPI low. This was back on October 13th. That is the previous CPI low where we bounced off of. Since then, we've sort of been channeling higher, over time. But now we're sitting here, sort of in no man's land. And we have to wait to see whether we get a push, right? This is around 39.30. That's the previous highs here from beginning of October, end of October, beginning of November. That's around 4.5% to the upside. And then this CPI low is down to around 7% to the downside. So that's worst case scenario, right? For us to retest these lows at 3,500. That would be worst case scenario. That's 7% on the ES. That's huge. If I zoom out and I go to the 4-hour chart, if we get a break of the 39.30, I think that could definitely get a little bit of an upside squeeze, right? I think we could see some type of upside squeeze if we see a move over 39.30, right? That's a pretty big rejection point right here, and that could cause a little bit of an upside squeeze over that level. I'm not going to try to guess at this point. We have 8 minutes until CPI comes out, which we will see live, and that's really what we're waiting on here for any type of real analysis that we're going to do here on the market. So that's a little bit preliminary. I'm sorry it's not great, guys. I'm not confident in giving you any type of real analysis here. As you guys know, I'm totally understanding of macroeconomics, invalidating technical analysis. So the technical analysis that we do here right now is pretty irrelevant. I'm just sort of pointing out some levels to sort of watch out for in the longer term, and we'll wait to see what happens after CPI. Yesterday, I just want to point out this absolutely sexy bear flag on Tesla, guys. Congratulations if you caught this. This was something. You guys can see yesterday we were talking about this bear flag. I'll go ahead and pop up the I'll go ahead and pop up what it looked like before, because looking at it before is pretty sweet. I'll go ahead and pull that up. Here it is. This is yesterday on the Discord chat. And let me go ahead and hold on. Look at this thing. Look at that thing. So that was, let me go ahead and hide this real quick. Sorry. Got a bunch of things going on over here. So this was yesterday, right? And this was the break. So a sick bear flag, guys. Congratulations, you caught that. I really wanted to see it push into 196, right? I wanted to see it push into 196, and it did not, unfortunately. It was 195, right? It was still that 195 level. So I was a little bit hesitant on the 195 rejection, but if you guys go to the 5-minute chart, look at what it did at open. Look at that. We got a push, big push, right into 195. Monster rejection. And ever since that monster rejection at the previous day highs, right, just a insane downside. Bear flag, beautiful setup. Very nice play. Congratulations if you caught it. Next, I want to show you this, right, because this is important as well on Tesla. Tesla had a weekly support. Had is the key word, had. Maybe after CPI could still have it. But Tesla had a weekly support at 180. This is right here. The lows of this candle is 179.83. The low of this candle is 182.33. So right around, let's call it 180. Let's get the line at the exact low, 179.83. Let's put the line there at 179.83. 179.83. That's where our exact low is on the weekly chart. Actually, let's check this one. 180.4. Yeah, 179.83. So if we go to the 1-minute chart, oh, look at that. Look at that. Right? It's like witchcraft. Look at where this rejected right here. It's almost as if it's witchcraft. You can see we got a push right into 179.83, almost to the cent, and look at the rejection here, guys. What is that? Right? That is very important on Tesla here. That is the previous major weekly support turning into a rejection in the pre-market. That is very, very bearish, right? That is very bearish. To see this weekly support turn into a rejection right here in the pre-market is pretty bearish. So watch out for that. I just wanted to point that out here today on Tesla. We'll see what it looks like in about 4 minutes after CPI, but that is a first look that you have to be paying attention to this morning. That is a very important rejection that has come in here in the pre-market. That is why I believe you're seeing this weakness come in, because a bunch of sellers stacked up, and you can see we were stacking up here yesterday near close. We were stacking up right at that weekly support, and we have turned it into a rejection here early morning. It's pretty nasty. Netflix was another bear flag that we were watching here. I wanted it back into 268, and again, it didn't quite give it to me. I did catch a piece of it, but nothing crazy. You guys can see right here. Actually, no, I caught a piece of it back on yesterday. Yeah, I didn't catch it yesterday. I caught it, Tuesday, not yesterday. So you can see little bear flag action, right? I wanted it back into this 269. This is where I would have rather have seen this break down, right? Because I want to see this thing get back into the previous lows, but it looks like it sort of started to fail around 266, 267. Look at the downside, and a very nice bear flag breakdown as well on Netflix. I think Netflix probably needs to come back to 250, depending on what the market does here on CPI. But you guys can see I'm really wanting to see that 250 retest here. All right. So that's Netflix and Tesla. Those were like the best two setups that I wanted to talk about from yesterday. What else sort of worked out yesterday? I think that was really the two cleanest that I was watching. Oh, the TSM gap fill. Did we talk about the TSM gap fill here on the chat? I don't remember if I brought it up on the voice chat, but we brought it up in the Discord. TSM went upside this morning off news. They are expanding their Arizona chip factory, watching to see if there is rejection up here near 67, 68 for a potential gap fill. It's the only stock gapping up. Does it continue with this? Or does it continue through? Does it continue through this rejection, or is this a short-term pop we can short into? All right. I was sort of watching for the gap fill up into 67. If I go to the hourly chart, I'll show you why I was watching that 67. You guys can see right here. This was a nice play as well. You guys can see we got a pop in the we got a big pop in the morning, sort of a gap up right into this previous rejection point right here, right? And I was sort of watching for the gap fill, and you can see that's pretty much exactly what we did yesterday. So here was the gap, here was the open. Oh, I'm sorry, where's the gap? There it is. Where am I? Wednesday. Yeah, here was the gap, here was the open, and we sort of just filled the gap in the pre-market. So pretty nice there as well. If you guys see something gapping up, all right, with a weak market, I would always look for that gap fill. All right, you can see right here, we gapped up pre-market, and we sort of just, that's exactly what we did. We just sort of filled the gap perfectly. So that was another nice one. And I apologize, guys, if this is your first time here. I know there's a lot of people here, more than usual. If this is your first time here, this is not typically how the live streams go. I'm just sort of killing time until CPI, which is about to come out. So let's get excited now. All right. So we got about 30 seconds till CPI. Let's pull up both the ES and NASDAQ. Let's pull up the ES here. Let's go 1 minute chart. Actually, yeah, why not? I don't know if I like 1 minute. Let's go 15 minute here. 15 minute chart. NASDAQ. Let's go 15 minute. So you got NASDAQ on the left, ES on the right, right? This is the pre-CPI low. Actually, I want to get the pre-CPI low here for us on this chart as well. You know what? Here we go. All right. We're getting a little bit of upside there on the NASDAQ to start. Let's make sure I get the charts here, or the news here. All right. Looks like we're getting upside, big upside there. Let's see if that continues. Waiting for the numbers. If you guys get the numbers before me, let me know. Right now, a little bit of a pop. We are popping into yesterday's highs, so let's just remember that. We're sort of still not past yesterday's highs. Remember that. Make sure to zoom out. All right, we're still under yesterday's highs. All right, CPI, October consumer prices, 0.4. Okay, the consumer prices are lower than consensus. CPI ex food and energy plus 0.3. The consensus was plus 0.5. Consumer prices increased 7.7 from a core CPI of 6.3 year over year. CPI energy prices 1.8. Okay, here it is. CPI October 0.4 estimated was 0.6, so it's lower than the estimation. That's good. Core CPI month over month 0.3 estimated was 0.5. That's good. October year over year CPI 7.7 estimated was 7.9. That's pretty good. And core CPI 6.3 estimated was 6.5. So that is your first CPI reading that is lower than the expectations. And that is potentially a pretty bullish reading there, guys. That is the first time we've seen a pretty hefty decrease versus the expectations. I'm going to go ahead and try to wait until investing.com gets this updated on the chart for us so we can see this here on the chart. But that is a decrease versus the expectations, which is, I mean, God damn it. I mean, final. I mean, how long, right? I mean, we got some point at some, here it is. Look at this. Wow. That's a pretty healthy decrease there. Right? Look at this. Yeah, this is definitely, I mean, if we don't move higher off this, then right, then I don't understand the market. I mean, this is what, right? This is what the market wants to see for upside. Right? That is this in my opinion, I could be dead wrong, guys, but this is sort of what I would expect to be a bullish thing for the market, right? A lower than expected CPI coming in about 0.3 lower than the expectations. I mean, that seems to me as the bullish scenario, right? I don't know, we always know the market can do some weird things, right? Stuff that I don't understand, but to me, in my head, a lower expected than CPI is, I mean, I don't want to upset anyone if you're permanently bearish, but that is a bullish thing for the market, all right? So 7.7 coming in lower than the forecast of 8%. Previous was 8.2. So that's about 0.5 lower than the previous reading. What's the jobless claims? If jobless claims are lower, that's even more bullish. Jobless claims. No, I'm sorry. If jobless claims are higher, that's more bullish. Wait, jobless claims, less jobs, more jobless people. Yeah, okay. More jobless people. The more people that have jobs, the more bearish it is, right? The Fed wants people to not have jobs. So it is still, so the jobless claims came in higher than expected. But it's pretty much flat. Everything's it's like bad is good with the jobs. Make sure Fed doesn't want people to be working because then it doesn't have to tighten, then it can't tighten as much. It's such a disaster. But all right, so CPI coming in lower than the expectations. For now, guys, that seems bullish to me, right? That would be the bullish scenario. If there was ever a bullish scenario here today, it would be that CPI came in lower, right? So I'm gonna definitely be under the assumption that this is a bullish, right? This is a bullish CPI. We'll see how it continues today, right? That is definitely something we're gonna have to see, but that is a pretty monster move there in the pre-market. So, yeah, what is that right now? Let's see. That is about 2.5%. Nothing wild, but 2.5% for now. So we'll see how this holds up. Let's go out to the hourly chart. So here's the only concern I have, right? This is sort of the only thing that I'm sort of concerned of here. We're not really moving through yesterday's highs. I'm a little bit concerned of that. So watch out for yesterday's highs. Right, we're barely even through that. So that if we reject yesterday's highs, that's not a very bullish thing to see. So let's watch this 11,230. That's yesterday's highs. Let's keep that on our chart. Thanks, ATEC. Appreciate you, man, and thanks for all your contributions to the Discord. 11,230. That's yesterday's highs. I would watch that first, guys. And then the next level I would watch is up here at the pre-FOMC lows here. This is 11,300. So 11,230, yesterday's highs. 11,300 up here. Those are the levels I'd watch on the NASDAQ for upside. I'm surprised to not see it getting through yesterday's highs. The ES is slightly stronger here. You guys can see the previous rejection point from yesterday was right around this 3860. Okay, now we're getting a little bit of a move on the ES. So now your ES is getting a little going here. So 3860, yesterday's highs, watch that. I'm sorry, Tuesday's highs, my bad. Tuesday's highs here on the ES, watch that. But the big level, in my opinion, the level that you have to break to see any type of upside legitimate continuation is going to have to be 3930, right, guys? You have to break 3930. You have to break 3930 here. If you do not break 3930, then watch out for, a little bit of a fake out. But if you can get a break over 3930 and you can get a continuation move off that, then I think you see upside continuation. So 3930 is my big level on the ES that I think you definitely want to see us get through for a sort of a believable upside move. If that 3930 can turn into support, if we can turn this major previous rejection point into support, then I think that's technically bullish. All right. NASDAQ. See, NASDAQ's a little bit weak here, right? NASDAQ, that 3930 level on the ES that I just pointed out is all the way up here at 11.7. So we are still about 4.5% off that 11.7 level on the NASDAQ. And if we are under 11.7, right? Just reading the technicals here, if we are under 11.7, I cannot get that bullish on this market. Right, because this is just a major channel, a big time rejection point up here. And if we're just going to sort of mess around here, we're not going to get a move. You need to get a break of this channel, right? You need to make a higher high of the previous 2 months. This is October 1st, right around here. We've basically been in a channel for an entire month. So you definitely need to get some kind of, some type of move over this channel to get an actual move here. So just be cautious of that, guys. I know the market's up nicely here right now, but there are definitely some levels to still be monitoring here. You got 3930 up here on the ES, which you are very close to. ES is a little bit outperforming. But the NASDAQ is still pretty far away, right, from that high. That's about 4.5%. So just be aware of that, guys. I know it looks bullish right now. We'll probably be able to trade some upside today, but just be cautious, of that upside rejection point. All right. Here's the Dow. Dow, nice upside. Dow's been a strong mover, guys. It continues to be. Dow's just been in a nice uptrend, has not made a single lower low, right? Look at the Dow. Not a single lower low on the Dow. Even through the downside moves, it continues to hold these levels. So that's big. Here's the Dow. Let's go ahead and zoom out here. Dow's been that strong move. Dow Jones, Mike Jones. Mike Jones has got the power here. So I would watch. What's this high? Yeah, we're sitting right at it. This is on October 26th. That high right there, 33.5. And then this level here, up around 34.2. Right? Those are the levels I'd watch on the Dow. But the Dow is the strong outperformer, right? The Dow has continued to make higher highs, higher lows. Just watch out for this rejection that's coming in right now at 33.5. Right? You're starting to see that rejection come in. Right? You're starting to see that rejection come in right now, actually. Look. Right around that 33.4, 33.5 level. So watch out for that. Russell. Big pop on the Russell here. Again, guys. I would just be a little bit cautious of this push. Of course, I want this to go higher, right? Because of my long-term portfolio, but look at some of these levels, right? Look at this double top rejection on the Russell. Look at this rejection on the Russell. You're still trading underneath it, right? You're still trading underneath these pretty major rejection points on this market. So it is not, it's not time to, it's not time to pull out the champagne yet here, for sure. So 11.7, that's big. And then the ES, guys, up here at 39.30 is a pretty big level. Once I see the ES confidently break 39.30, then I would get a little bit more confident in a upside move. So that's really my upside level to watch. All right, let's go over some stocks. Let's have some fun. Now we can look at some stocks. So Tesla is back over 180, right? This is why I didn't want to do analysis before the pre-market or before CPI. Tesla is back over 180. That is that weekly support right there. What are we watching? Of course, we're going to watch yesterday's rejection point. And of course, we're going to have to watch these lows right here, which is where we're rejecting at this very moment, 187. Right? Why am I watching 187? You got a previous support here. You got a previous support here. Right? And look at where we just popped into and starting to reject. 187. Look at that. So those are my levels to watch here on Tesla today, guys. Let me go to the 30-minute chart. I would watch 187. You guys can see previous support here, and you're starting to reject it right now in the pre-market. And then if you get over 187, watch 195. Previous rejection here, previous rejection here. Watch 195 and 187, right? Those are the two levels to look for today on Tesla. Let's go NVIDIA. NVIDIA, 4-hour chart. So NVIDIA just set up the pretty much perfect break and retest off that CPI reading. This is, wow. Yeah, if you guys are in the chat, this is like the break and retest that we've been sort of eyeing here. I mean, of course, it happens off CPI. You just can't guess that that's going to happen, of course, right? But eyeing this pullback to 142 on NVIDIA, previous rejection point. If we see that turn into support, I will look to see if I can play this bull flag setup on the 30-minute. It was there. Unfortunately, it happens on CPI, so nothing I can really do. But there was a little bit of a bull flag setting up on NVIDIA here, back to the previous rejection point. You can see it just pulled back, did a little break and retest. I'll go to the hourly chart. You guys can see right here, previous rejection point into support, break it, retest it right at 134, right, and a nice little push to the upside. So we'll see. I mean, that's going to be your big level to watch, right, on NVIDIA. Let's zoom out, go to the 4-hour. I'll show you guys this level, the levels to watch here. The first one is obviously going to be the 134, right? That's your 134. That's your previous rejection point, previous support, into support again. So 134 is a must hold on NVIDIA. to the upside, I would probably watch from, more than anything, the big level here is right here at 155, 154. You guys see these previous support levels? If I move this over, I think that's your big level to watch. So if I zoom out, we get a little bit more time here. You guys can see this previous triple bottom support back here around 155 on NVIDIA. That's really your big level to watch right here around 155. So keep an eye on that 155 on NVIDIA. If you want to see this remain bullish, you have to hold 134, right? That is a must hold on 134 on NVIDIA. AMD, yeah, AMD back at 63. Look at this. So if the market fades today, this could very well be the best downside play. If the market fades, it's a big if. But if the market does fade and everyone gets, sort of shocked by a downside move, AMD off 63 could very well be another insane rejection play, as it's been hundreds of other times. So, yeah, let's watch out for 63 here on AMD, guys. Look at that rejection at that exact level again. 63 is literally a brick wall. I mean, there must be someone massive just selling at 63. Must be a huge order just continuously unloading at 63. It just can't get through. So 63, big supply. Watch out for it again today. If you can get a break and retest above 63, then you guys know what to do. But watch out for that 63, guys. This could be, right, if the market fades, this would be the one I would watch because it will very aggressively reject this 63 level if the market fades today. If the market does continue, I would look for the break and retest of 63 for more upside. Or it's the 63 smackdown, right, Rusty? Yeah. Crazy how many times that thing just gets rejected at that level. So definitely watch that today. Let's go Netflix. So Netflix sort of holding that. I mean, Netflix isn't really getting to the best levels for me. Like sometimes it's like 1 point off where I want it to be. Can you consider this a break and retest on Netflix for the upside? Is this enough, right? Did Netflix give me enough here to consider this a break and retest? Maybe, right? Maybe it's not going to give me the exact 250. Maybe it's like 251, 252. But, right, if the market's strong here, this right here is a very nice looking break and retest setup, right? A break, a retest. If this 240, this 251, 252 area turns into a demand zone, right, this could be another push on Netflix here, right off 250, 251, 252. It hasn't quite given me the exact 250 level to make me warm and cozy on the trade. It's given me like 252, 251, but this is a pretty nice looking break, retest, consolidation at the previous high. You guys remember how hard it was for Netflix to get over 250, right? We were here in the live stream every day talking about watch the 250, be cautious of the 250 rejection, and now we can see you're sort of holding it as a support. So pretty big there. Watch that, right? That's a big watch. Apple. Yeah, Apple's been a little bit of a mess here, but Apple needs to get over. This is where Apple needs to get over to get an actual move. 142 is where I really need to see it. Probably even this 142.50 is where I need to see it get over to really feel confident on upside here. You have a previous rejection right here at 142.50. You have a rejection right here at 142.50. You probably need to see a 142.50 break and hold for upside on Apple. So that is definitely something I'll watch today. And 138, you'd like to see it hold up as well. And yeah, Tesla's sort of popping through, huh? Yeah, Tesla's sort of continuing. What's the ES doing right now? Yeah, ES is over that 38.60 level. It actually, look at that, guys. Look at what it just did. Look at the break and retest right here. This was a nice little futures trade, right? Break, retest. Look at this. This is, you want to see that. What's the candle right here? What candle confirms upside right here? There's one candle, right? There is one candle here that, in my opinion, confirms your upside. Here, I'm going to give you a few choices. Is it 838, 839, 840, 841, or 842? Right? 838 candle. Or let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. In my opinion, it's 2. Right here. This candle right here is where I would take a break and retest trade, right? This is when I start to get interested for longs, right there. All right, if I saw that, then I'm saying, all right, I'm getting in, right? That's like, as soon as I see that, I'm taking my long entry, right? As soon as I see this, I'm in long. And I have my stops right under that candle, right? That's how I trade these. That's pretty much a perfect example right there, right? I see this big wick to the upside. I go long on the wick, showing that aggressive buying at the retest level. I put my stops right under that candle, right? Risking about, whatever that candle's width is. And then I'm looking for that continuation move. Very nice, right? That's a really nice example right there. And I would assume that this sort of tries to continue higher as long as it holds to 38.60, right? Yeah, I mean, this candle is good as well, right? This is the more warm and cozy entry. I agree. Right? This is the little bit more warm and cozy entry. Right? This is where, people would maybe go long like right here and look for the continuation. I like to be a little bit more ballsy on my entries, to be honest, because it provides me a better risk reward. Sometimes my best entries are ones that I'm not, that I'm taking, that I feel like I'm being a little ballsy. But that is sometimes where you get your best risk to reward if you can read it correctly. So I like that. I like this as an entry. But that is also, 5 is also a pretty nice entry as well. Dixie, yeah, look at that. Holy crap. Look at that. Oh my God, I didn't even realize. Yeah, thanks for calling that out, Carl. Yeah, big drop on the dollar, guys. That is bullish. Big drop on the dollar. All right. I mean, I'm just sort of hanging out here, guys. I'm sorry about today's stream. Today's stream is a little bit messy. I'm going to go ahead and post all the analysis that I have. I got to go. It's 8:50. I'm sorry about today's stream. You saw the CPI. You saw the upside. You saw the technical levels. I'm going to go ahead and post the technical levels in the Discord, in the chart Discord. It's free. Check it out down below. That is only for futures analysis. If you want to upgrade in that community, you'll see technical analysis on individual stocks. Or if you're part of our main trading community, I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. All right. So I'm going to post some charts there, some stocks that I'm watching. I apologize. It's a little bit of a weird stream for me, guys, just because of CPI, having to wait for 8:30, having only 20 minutes after CPI. So it's not the best. So be on the lookout if you want for that analysis. And I would just be cautious having a strong conviction today, guys, right? It's the CPI number should have some value to it, right? That is my opinion. That lower than expected CPI number should have value to it. I would be careful shorting this move with that type of number coming out on CPI. Maybe day 2 is a better day to short it, but I'm going to assume as of now that I think there's going to be some strength to the upside here. I'm not sure if it's going to be like rocket ship to the upside, but just be cautious shorting into a lower than expected CPI number, right? That's just be a little bit cautious of it. I'm not saying that there might not be a chance of this giving back a significant amount, but you are shorting into the one number that the market has been waiting to see for a very long time. So you're possibly shorting into like the one time that the market is finally getting something that's bullish behind it. So just remember that. If you're going to short this, just keep it a little bit small, right? You don't want to get slammed trying to short everything today and it just keeps going higher and higher and higher, right? I've seen those days where the things just pull back a little bit and then they just continue higher. They pull back a little bit, continue higher, and you're shorting on every pullback and it just keeps stopping you out. It's not a fun time. It is not a fun time to get behind that. Be careful. If you start to feel like you're on the wrong side of the trade, don't let your ego, don't let your mentality, don't let it stop you from looking at the other side of the other possibility, right? It could be one of those days where you're on the wrong side of the trade, you get a big ego, you're getting real confident that, okay, this is going to pull back. I'm confident that we're going to give up this move, and it never does it, right? Don't let it be one of those days. Make sure you are on the right side of the trade today, because if you are on the wrong side of the trade today, if you are not willing to accept that you're on the wrong side of the trade, it could be a very ugly day. All right? And I'm not saying that's to either direction. That could be to the downside. That could be to the upside, right? Just make sure you try to trade with the trend today, because trading against a trend on a large macroeconomic day could be very ugly. So just be careful. All right? Have a good day, guys. Good luck today. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.